What exactly is cloud storage? Now, first and foremost, let me tell you what prompted me to actually go ahead and take this session. Well, recently I had been interviewing and where I asked people what did they know about cloud computing, and they told me that cloud computing is a place, or it is a place online where you actually store data. I mean, to some extent, I agree. Yes, cloud computing helps you store data, but that is not the definition on the longer run. Uh, so that is why I thought that we should actually go ahead and have this session so that we can discuss some of the myths that surround cloud computing and cloud storage in particular. So, guys, let's start with the basic definition first. Storage, well, it is something that is made available in the form of service which is connected over a network. So guys, this is a very basic definition, and to throw some more light, I would like to actually go ahead and give in certain examples as well to specify what does this definition mean. But to some point this definition is correct. It says that it is nothing but a storage which is available as a service which is connected over a network. Now again, you might wonder, as in this is what people told me in the interview, right? I mean, it is a place where you store data. So yes, cloud storage to some extent, yes, this is what it is. But when you talk about cloud storage, it is a lot more than this basic definition. Let's try to understand what all does cloud storage exactly has to offer to you people. Well, first and foremost, as I've already mentioned, it is storage. It can let you store emails, media. Now when I say media, you can store in different kind of media, whether it's your images, whether it's your videos, or maybe other kind of files. It also lets you hold services as well. Yes, we are living in the world of internet right now, and there are various services, websites that are online, and this data can be stored by using cloud platform. And finally, I'm sorry guys, finally it is nothing but the backup. Now when I say backup, guys, we're talking about large enterprises that let you back up the data, and they're using cloud platform to do that. But again, it still holds the same point, right? I mean, when I say emails, media, services, backup for large organizations, I mean, it is still a simple storage. No. Now let me tell you what it does. When I say backup for large organizations, we are referring to a lot of pointers here. Data coming in from different sources, the way it is processed, the way it is integrated and stored into a particular storage, how it is handled, and what all can you do with it. Now when you talk about a cloud storage, it actually takes care of all these things. That means it's not a redundant or a dead storage where you just take your data and put in your data. You can think of it as smart data storage. So to understand that, let's talk about cloud computing a little. So what cloud computing does is, it lets you have this data on their platform, and it is a platform where it has n number of services that lets you compute or process this data to suit your business needs. Now it can be using machine learning, big data, finding out certain patterns using Power BI tools, or not Power BI tools, BI tools, and also do a lot of other things like maybe use a cloud platform where the data can be used for marketing purposes, maybe building IoT bots and stuff like that. So this is what a cloud computing platform does. It basically lets you use different sources and use this particular data to do multiple or different kinds of things. So when I say a cloud storage, it basically ensures there is a mechanism that in first place it stores data and lets you perform some of the actions that you can actually perform on this data. So as we move further, I would be discussing quite a few pointers that support this claim or this definition of mine. So let's just move further and try to understand a little more pointers or some other pointers that talk about cloud storage. But to keep it simple, it is a storage that lets you do a lot of things with your data. Primary reason being storing the data, and the other reasons being processing it or managing it also. So let's move further and take a look at the next pointer. So what are the myths that surround a cloud storage? Well, when you talk about the myths, this is what some people had to say, that cloud computing is suitable only for large scale organizations. No, this is not true. Let me give you an example. Recently what happened was, one of my friends, he actually happened to format his mobile phone, and he lost all the images and all the data that was there on that phone. So the problem was he never backed that data up on any drive, neither on Google Drive or anywhere. So he lost the data. So he came to us and he told us that this is what happened. So we told him that probably he should have backed it up maybe on Google Drive. So next time he did that, and again he being used to losing his data, he lost his data again. So he again comes up and he's like, I've lost the data. So we reminded him that he had his data stored on the Google Drive. So when you talk about Google Drive, it is nothing but an online storage where you actually make a copy of your data. So he made a copy of his data and he could actually get that data back. So when I say cloud storage, it gives you a simple application or a simple service where you can actually go ahead and just put in your data, just like Google Drive, where you can put in your data as well. So it is not limited to large scale organizations only. If even you are a single individual where you just need to store your data, you can use cloud storage. Now there are various cloud service providers that actually meet or cater different cloud computing needs. So based on that, the cloud storages might get complicated and might give you more functionality, but even if your need is as basic as storing data, don't worry, cloud computing or cloud storage is for you as well. Now if you talk about small scale businesses, yes, these days the amount of data that is generated is huge, and that is why what happens is, even for small scale organizations, you need a place where you can store your data and somebody can manage that data for you so you can focus on your business goals. So this is where cloud storage comes into picture for even small scale businesses as well. So if you ask me, yes, large scale organizations are suitable for cloud computing, or only large scale organizations are suitable for cloud storage. This is a myth. Complexity with cloud, guys. Now what does this term symbolize? People normally assume that having their private infrastructures makes it easier for them to actually go ahead and put in your data. That is not true. The fact that people are used to certain methods or methodologies, they feel comfortable with it. Whether cloud is complex or not, I would say it is not. Why? Because if you get used to certain services, you would realize that storing or moving your data to cloud is actually a lot more easier than your normal infrastructures, or your previous or traditional infrastructures is what I would say. So whether cloud is complex, I would say no. As we move into the demo part, probably we would be talking about this pointer, or once I give the demo, probably you would have a clearer picture how easy it is to actually move your data to cloud. Not eco-friendly. Now this might sound out of the blue. I mean, you might wonder, this is not a sociology session, so where did this point come in from? I mean, not eco-friendly. Yes, what people assume is the fact that the large amount of data is being stored on these platforms. So we have huge amounts or huge numbers of data centers which are big in size, and they consume a lot of electricity. So there is power wastage, electricity wastage. Well, that is a myth again. First and foremost, the fact that we are getting a centralized storage somewhere, that means most of the data would be stored there. So yes, you're automatically saving out on your power consumption when you talk about it from a global or an eco perspective. The other thing is, I would not want to point out a particular cloud service provider, but when you talk about GCP, that is Google Cloud Platform, they normally provide their cloud services at a very affordable price. Now, why is that? The reason for that is, they've actually put in a lot of effort into the research part, where they've researched a lot on how they can actually minimize the cost. And how did they do it? They basically ensured that the amount of power that is consumed by their resources, they've tried and optimized that amount to a minimum amount so that they are charged less, and in a way you are charged less. So if they're optimizing that particular process, obviously you're consuming less amount of electricity. So whether it's eco-friendly, definitely it is eco-friendly. Zero downtime. Again, there's no such thing as zero downtime. Now the fact that I'm talking about cloud storage does not mean that I tell you that it has zero downtime and you're completely secure. No, there is a possibility that there might be a downtime. The fact that cloud ensures that this downtime is very less, now that is a plus point. What cloud also does is it ensures that there is a disaster recovery, and there is always a backup of your data or your resources. So even if something goes down for a very little time, I mean normally it happens for a very less time if it does happen, and it happens very rarely, but even if it happens, care is taken that nothing harms your resources or your data. So zero downtime, no, that is not true, but definitely downtime is taken care of when you talk about cloud storages. There is no need of cloud storage. Okay, this is one of the biggest myths. um, Whether people agree or not, if you go back like 10 years from now, uh, probably people did not know a lot about cloud computing, but with time people are actually moving to cloud. And if you take a look at recent statistics, they would agree as well. I mean, people would be wanting to switch to cloud in near future, and the reason for that is there are quite a few services, quite a few facilities that cloud gives you, and that is why people are moving to cloud. And if you do move to cloud, you'll be using cloud storage inevitably. So yes, that is going to happen. And if you think that there is no need for cloud storage, definitely in near future, I would assure you that even you would be moving to cloud. So guys, these are some of the major myths. There are some other myths as well. As we move further, not worry, we would be discussing that as well in some other pointers. So let's just go ahead and talk about some of the benefits of using a cloud storage for data storage, or basically using cloud for data storage. So what are the benefits of this thing? Now I purposely kept this pointer for the later half, and I first discussed the myth because these pointers would definitely help you understand some of those myths better. Now your cloud platform is customer friendly. What do I mean by this? Well, first and foremost, when you talk about cloud storage, what you're able to do is you're able to scale up your storage, scale down your storage, keep it secure, monitor it, and you can ensure that there is constant backup taken of your data. So when you talk about it from a security perspective, it is secure as well. Plus, what cloud service providers do is they've had so many services that are there in the market. You talk about any popular cloud service provider, they have a lot of services that are made available. What do these services do is they ensure that your functioning on cloud platform is very smooth, and same is for cloud storage as well. You can utilize various services which ensure that your functioning or your working on cloud becomes easy. Again, which I've been reiterating for a while now, that I would be talking about these in future slides. Don't worry, as we get into the demo part, you would understand how user friendly these cloud platforms are. Security. Now again, this is an important point. When you talk about cloud platforms, cloud storages, are they secure or not? Definitely they are very secure. And there was a time when people believed that these platforms were not secure to a greater extent, and that doubt was understandable. I mean, if there is something that is new in the market, you tend to doubt that. But if you talk about cloud platforms, these platforms are actually more secure than your on-premise or your traditional architectures which people are used to using. The reason for this is, if you talk about cloud service providers, let's talk about AWS, that is Amazon Web Services in this case. What it does is it gives you a shared security model. Now what do I mean by this? You have service level agreements where you and your customer, or maybe the customer and the AWS providers, they basically come to a term where they decide as in what kind of security or what kind of principles are to be implemented on the architecture. And you can take control, as in you can decide what accesses do you want to give to the vendor and what are the accesses you want to keep to yourself. So when you do combine this approach, it ensures that security is at the optimum, and you get to be, or you get to take control of your security as well. So yes, if you talk about cloud storage being secure or not, yes, it is very secure. To name some, we have S3 in AWS. It is highly durable and it is highly reliable. So when you talk about disaster recovery and durability, it is almost up to there. And as I've already mentioned, not everything is 100% when I talked about the downtime, or yeah, the downtime part. So yes, not everything is 100%, but when you talk about security and durability, when you talk about S3 in particular, it is 99 point some 6 or 7 times 9, that is 99.9999999 times durable. So that does make your system very secure. Another benefit, guys, it is pocket friendly. Now if you talk about cloud service providers, whether it's storage, whether it's compute service, database services, all these services, you can actually go ahead and use these services for rental basis. It's just like paying for your electricity. I mean, if you're using a particular service, you'd be paying for that service for the duration you use that service, and you'd be paying only for the resources that you've used. So it is pay as you go kind of a model where you pay only for the resources you use and only for the time duration you use. So whether it's pocket friendly or not, yes, it is pocket friendly. And as you move further, I mean, if you're using more storage, the cost again it cuts down to a greater extent. So it is already cheaper, and if you decide to scale up, it would be more cheaper, or it would be cheaper is what I should say. So yeah, these are some of the benefits. Now, if you talk about cloud computing and storage, again, there are other benefits like, as I've already mentioned, durability, scalability, and various other benefits. But these are some core ones. I would not want to get into the details because I wish to keep everyone on the same page for people who have been attending this session for the first time, and for people who probably know a bit about cloud computing. Again, guys, if some of the terms that I'm talking about in this session, you feel that these terms are fairly new for you and I'm probably going at a faster pace, I would suggest that you actually do go ahead and check into the other sessions that we have on our YouTube channel, because we've talked about a lot of stuff there. I mean, other cloud services, what cloud computing is, what cloud service providers are, what are different service models, and quite a few other videos and sessions, to be honest. So I would suggest that you go through those sessions as well. And I'm sure that by now many of you might have been wondering as in whether this session would be recorded and a copy of it would be available to you people or not. Not worry, most of our sessions they go on YouTube, so probably a copy of it would be there on YouTube, and if not, you can actually share your email IDs as well. If it does not go on YouTube, somebody would share a copy of the session with you people. So guys, if I'm happening to go a little faster than what you're expecting, do not worry, you'd be having a copy of this as well. But for now, just try to keep up with the pace that I am going with, and I'm sure that by the end of this session we all would be good. So guys, what are some of the cloud storage practices that you should take care of? Now, these are the practices that should concern somebody who is planning to move to cloud. Again, if you are a newbie and you're just here to practice, we are not talking about you in particular, but these pointers are important for you as an individual as well. But I'm talking about it from more business perspective or more industrial perspective. So if your organization is planning to move to cloud, definitely these are some of the practices or pointers that you should take care of. So first and foremost, scrutinize SLA. So as I've already mentioned, you have SLAs where your service providers or your vendors basically come to a term where you actually go ahead and decide on particular rules, as in, okay, these are the terms and these are the services as a vendor I would be providing you people, and you as a customer you agree to certain terms, as in, okay, this is what you would be giving us and this is what we would be paying you. So there are certain pointers that you should consider while you're actually signing your SLAs. One thing that you need to understand is, when they say that you would be, this is the base charge, try to understand how the charges would be when you decide to scale up and stuff like that. Other thing that you need to consider is, I've talked about downtime, right? So normally you have SLAs where people talk about the stuff that there won't be an outage which is more than 10 minutes. So yes, I mean, this sounds fairly good, right? So in an hour's time, this is a hypothetical example. Do not consider that there would be a downtime of 10 minutes. This is for your understanding. Let's assume that there's a downtime of maybe 10 minutes in an hour's time, which is too high for now, but let's assume that. So what a service provider would claim is, if there is a downtime once, probably this is what the charge would be, but if it goes down after that, probably you get some more concession discount and those kind of things. So if there is an SLA where you say that it is 10 minutes, and what if there were two downtimes of 99 minutes in an hour, and that is fairly close, right? So you've been robbed of your right. So that is what I'm trying to say. I mean, if you do actually go ahead and have particular SLAs, make sure that you consider in right points that suit in your business as well. Follow your business needs. Again guys, storage, as we move further we will be discussing what are the different kinds of storages. So when you talk about cloud service providers, they provide you n number of storages, or n types of storages is what I should say. So depending upon the business you're dealing with, the kind of data that is generated, you should be able to choose a proper storage for your requirements. I mean, whether you're dealing with the real-time data, whether it's stationary data, archival data, based on that, you should be able to actually go ahead and set up your cloud storage. Also, you need to understand, as in, Okay, this is the data I would be putting in, and these are the integrations I would be needing because I'm using these kind of tools. So are those compatible with my cloud platform? So probably you need to consider these pointers as well. And if you follow these rules, probably your business would end up saving a lot of money. Now there have been use cases where uh, businesses have actually gone ahead and saved lakhs of dollars, thousands of dollars. So yes, considering these pointers, understanding your business also becomes important. You need to ensure that the security um, which you are actually managing or monitoring is defined properly. I've already mentioned that if you talk about cloud service providers, they let you have an SLA where you both come to a similar agreement. So understand the security, what are the accesses that you have, what are the accesses you want to give, what kind of data are you dealing with, and based on that probably you can come to terms when you're actually moving to cloud. Plan your storage future. What we are trying to say here is plan the future of your storage. Again, do you need to scale up in near future? What are the peak times that you can expect and stuff like that? So when you initially actually set your storage up, probably you would be in a much better position to scale up. I'm not refraining from the fact that cloud providers are already scalable, but just to be secure you can do that. When you talk about cloud providers, mostly they give you an option of scaling right away or instantly, but still having an understanding of how much storage you need, where you're gonna move in like 2 years 3 years time, probably having an understanding of all those things would definitely hold you in a much better position. Be aware of hidden costs. Again guys, I've talked about the first SLA, right? So it is similar to that. Understand what you're paying for, how much are you paying for. It is a pay as you go model, but having an understanding of which services would cost you how much would help you in forming proper SLAs or having proper policies for your storage. So these are some of the do's and don'ts of cloud storage, guys. Again, if you need more insights on different services as well, we have a video or a session on YouTube which is called as AWS best practices. You can take a look at that as well, where we talk about different services and how can you actually perform certain tasks which would ensure that you are in the best possible position. So guys, we've talked about quite a few things. We've understood what cloud storage is. We've understood what are the benefits, what are some of the myths, and what are some of the practices that you should take care of. Now let's take a look at some of the different cloud service providers that provide you with these services. And once we are done with it, then probably we would move into the demo part. So guys, there are quite a few cloud service providers which also provide you with storage services. We have Google Cloud Platform, which is one of the leading ones. DigitalOcean, probably it's everywhere, whether you search for internet ads, companies, it's there. Terramark, again, this is a popular cloud service provider. IBM is there in storage or in cloud for a very long time, guys. Now if you go way back, I happened to attend a session where I believe it was AWS and some reInvent session where I do not remember the name of the speaker, but that person made a very valid point. He said that in 1980s he remembered or he happened to visit a facility. I believe it was IBM's. I'm not sure whose. I think it was IBM's. So he said that they had this huge machine which was for storage. I mean, it looked very cool in 1980s, a huge machine, and it was very costly. It was like somewhere around thousands of dollars, and the storage space was 4 MB. Yes, for 4 MB, the cost was thousands of dollars. So you can understand how far storage has come, how far cloud has come. And yes, IBM, it has been there. I mean, it has been there since then. So if you talk about IBM, if you talk about Google Cloud Platform, these are principal cloud service providers. Then you have Microsoft Azure. Now if you talk about current market, I mean, if you go by the stats alone, Microsoft Azure and AWS, these are the leading cloud service providers. AWS is way ahead of all the other cloud service providers. I'm so sorry, but if you talk about Microsoft Azure, it is actually catching up with Amazon Web Services, and recent stats show that Microsoft Azure is doing fairly well. So yes, these are some of the popular cloud service providers, and more or less all of them have good storage services as well. But as I've already mentioned, Amazon Web Services is one of the best in the market, And in today's session, we would be understanding some of the popular cloud services that Amazon Web Services has to offer to you. And when I say popular services, I would be focusing on storage services specifically. So guys, let me switch into the console and we can discuss some of these services there and directly move into the demo part. So yes guys, I hope this screen is visible to you people. This is how the AWS management console looks like. So again, for people who are completely new to cloud platform, let me tell you that what Amazon Web Services or most of the other cloud service providers do is they give you a free tier account. What they're trying to say here is you use our services for free for a short duration of period, and if you like, then go ahead and buy our services. So these services are actually made available to you for free for one complete year. Yes, there are certain limits or bounds on these services, so if you exceed those limits you would be charged, but if you stay in the bounds or limits you won't be charged. And if you talk about exploring these services, these limits or free tier services are more than enough. So again guys, if you are completely new, you should come here, that is Amazon Web Services Management Console, create a free tier account. It is a very simple process. Put in certain details, where you work, why do you want to use these services, your basic details, and then probably you would have to enter your debit card or credit card details. Don't worry, they won't charge you, but this is for the verification purpose. And again, if you're worried about whether you would be charged or an amount would be minus from your credit amount that or your credit card, that does not happen guys. AWS gives you notifications saying that okay, you've been using these services and probably you might be overusing some of your services. Also, you can set in alarms where if you reach a particular limit, after that you can actually go ahead and ensure that there is an alarm so that you do not exceed the free tier limit. So yes, once you do have an account, you can avail all these services that are here guys. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the console a little and just jump into the storage services right away. So when you click on this icon here, storage guys, or services rather, you get access to all these services. As I've already mentioned, AWS provides you quite a few services. There's somewhere around 100 services guys, and they cover different domains. You can see the domain names at the top: compute, robotics, analytics, business applications, storage, you have management and governance, security, identity management, and all those services guys. So there are n number of services, whether it's migration, whether it's media services, you have services for almost everything. So guys, we would be focusing on the storage services. Before we go there, this is one thing. Probably you can select a region where you want to operate from. That is, you want to create your resources in this particular region. You can always have this option of using it. So what is a region guys? Your data is based in a data center, right? I mean, your data is copied somewhere. So if you are using those resources, probably your data would be fetched from that particular location. So you can choose a region probably which is close to you if you like, or if your business is located somewhere else, probably you can choose that region as well. So you need to go through the list of regions that are available and accordingly make a decision. Now this being a simple demo guys, I would be sticking to Ohio basically. So let's just go ahead and jump into the cloud services part, and let's talk about storage in particular. So guys, if you take a look at the storage services that are here, you can see that these are the storage services that AWS has to offer to you. We have S3, we have EFS, you have FSX, you have S3 Glacier, Storage Gateway, and AWS Backup. Let me just try and throw some light on some of these services, and probably we would just go ahead and get into the demo of one or two of these services at least. So guys, when you talk about S3, it is simple storage service, so that is SSS. Now this storage is basically object bucket kind of a storage. I mean, your container where you put in your data, where you store your data, is called as bucket, and your data or your files are basically stored in the form of objects. Let's just go ahead and quickly create a small bucket. This would be a very small introduction to this service. Let's just go ahead and do that. So when you click on this icon guys, that is S3, it redirects you to the S3 console guys, where you can actually go ahead and create a bucket. I've mentioned the pointer that there are certain services that make your job very easy with cloud service providers, and when you talk about storage services, it is no different. I mean, there are services which ensure that your job is fairly easy. So let's just go ahead and see how easy it is to work with S3. If you wish to create a bucket, guys, if you wish to create a container, it is very easy. Just go ahead and click on create bucket and give it some name. Say sample for today maybe. Guys, I'm very bad at naming conventions, but please forgive me for that. Again, the names here should be unique. I mean, if the name is taken somewhere else, probably you cannot rename. I mean, you cannot use that name again. So yes, ensure that your name is unique, and probably guys, you should try and name your buckets in such a way that those are more relatable. Say for example, if you have a bucket for maybe creating a particular application, so maybe bucket for that application or something like that, so that you have a hierarchy, and in that way you can assign IAM users or access to those buckets in a particular order, because you would not want all your users to have access to that bucket, right? So naming convention becomes very important. So just go ahead and say next. Keep all the versions, guys. Versioning becomes very important. Again, let's not get into the details, but let me give you a small idea what happens here. Versions, that means each time my buckets get updated, probably I would want a version or a copy of it, and I would want the latest one. So when I version it, it maintains those copies, and if I need to go back, I can actually go back to a particular level or a benchmark which I set the previous time. In this case, let's stick to basic one, and I do not want any logging details either, so just next. Again guys, there are certain public accesses which have been given, so permissions and access, we would talk about that, do not worry. For now, just say next, and I would say create a bucket. And guys, the bucket is already ready. I mean, my container is already ready, so I can just go ahead and probably open this bucket and put in a file if I want. And that too is very easy, guys. I say upload, and if I'm connected to my local system, I just say add files. Let's pick this random file which uses this name, and I say upload. And there you go, guys, the file is already there. I mean, we've created a bucket, a container, we've put in a files. It's as simple as that. Permissions, as I've already mentioned. Now let me talk about this point. I skipped this point, right? So let's discuss this a little. So guys, security is something that you can handle, so you would decide, or you need to decide, what are the users that need to access a particular bucket. Suppose your organization has different people working on different teams. I mean, you have somebody who is a developer, there's somebody who's working on maybe the administrative part, or maybe on the designing part. So for particular bucket, you have particular data, so you can decide who gets to access what. So setting in policies becomes important. You can create your own policies as well. Initially we saw that certain public accesses were restricted to this bucket. I said let's skip that for now. So when I say that public access is restricted, that means not any public policy can come in and dictate terms here saying that use this policy. Why? Because there is a restriction. This is a private bucket and not anyone can use it. So guys, when you talk about S3 in particular, you can create buckets, you can have backups, you can have your EBS backups also moved here. You can move your data from here to Glacier. We would be talking about Glacier, do not worry. You can have your Elastic Beanstalk applications, your patch applications, and the data can be stored in your S3 buckets. You can have your CI/CD pipelines, and the data can be moved again to the S3 bucket. Now this is highly durable and highly reliable source of storing data, and it gives you fast retrieval of data as well. Let's go ahead and try to understand some other services as well, guys. So when I come back here and I see EFS, Elastic File Storage or System rather. So here basically in this storage you can store files. Yes, we are talking about data that is in the form of files, and if you wish to connect it better with the network, you can go for EFS as well. Guys, then you have something called as S3 Glacier. Yes, we talked about S3, right, where data is durable and it can be accessed very quickly. S3 on the other hand lets you store archival data. Let me tell you what archival data is first. So guys, when you talk about archival data, basically what happens with archival data is you're dealing with a data that you do not need to use every day. Let me give you an analogy. I'm not sure whether you would be able to relate to that. So guys, your birth certificate. Now I belong to India, and we've been taking up a lot, but we still have a lot of data that is in the form of papers. Even if you go to hospitals, at times you request for a birth certificate, it might take days for you to get that birth certificate. Why? Because there is some person who will be going through all those documents and giving you that document. This is just an example, do not relate it like very seriously, but yeah, so it might take a couple of days, right? So And the birth certificate thing, I mean, I might not need birth certificate every day. It might be once in a decade that I might go to a hospital and probably request that particular birth certificate, right? So this is a kind of data probably which I do not need regularly or in real time. um, so I can compromise a little on the fact that if the person is giving me that data in 2 days time, it's okay, because that does not cost me anything. I can wait for 2 days maybe. But that's not the case. At times you need the data to be retrieved very quickly. So if that is the case, you should store it where? In S3. But if you're fine with this delay, probably you would want to store it in Glacier. Why? Glacier normally takes a longer while to retrieve your data. But the advantage of Glacier is it is profitable because it is very affordable compared to S3. S3 is already affordable, you can check in for the prices, but if you have archival data which you won't be using every day, you can store it here. And the fact that it takes a longer while, it won't cost you, it won't cost you in that perspective of accessing your data in real time, right? So if the data is something that is not needed regularly, you can move to S3 Glacier, right? So what happens is S3, you can actually move in all your data, and then if you realize that there is certain data which you do not need every day, just move it from S3 to S3 Glacier, where the data is stored in archival form, and it does not cost you a lot. So again guys, I won't be getting into the demo of S3 Glacier. We have a session on S3 Glacier, or Amazon Web Services Glacier rather, and to do that what you need is you need probably a third-party tool which makes it easier for you to retrieve the data. So I won't be getting into the stuff where I download that tool and then show you how it works. It's very simple. Just like we created buckets here, you create vaults there, and you probably move in your data and you can retrieve that data. But again, it takes a longer while to retrieve that data. So it is similar to S3 but little different. So yeah, that is S3 Glacier. We've understood what EFS is and what S3 is. Then again guys, you have some other services as well here. If I scroll down, you have your storage gateway, you have your AWS backup as well. So what are these things and what do these things do? Well, storage gateway and AWS backup, basically backup, as it says, you can have backup of your data and you can like save it from going down and stuff like that. When you talk about storage gateway, these are services that let you move your data from on-premise atmosphere or your infrastructure rather to cloud. So if you already have data that is on your existing on-premise or infrastructure rather, you can actually move that data to cloud as well. So there are services to help you do that, and those services are your storage gateway services. So guys, we've discussed some of these services. There is something else which is called as elastic block storage. Now elastic block storage, what it does is it lets you create volumes, snapshots and copies of the volume that is attached to your instances. Let's go ahead and take a look at how this works. I mean, there are a lot of pointers to talk about it. So as I move further, I would be discussing those pointers while I also show you how to do it. So guys, when I say EBS or elastic block storage, what it does is it lets me attach some kind of volume to my instance. Now instances, let me tell you what instances are first. Now when you talk about cloud services, they give you compute services where you can spawn instances or spawn temporary servers or servers where you want to host your data. Now each time I won't be going ahead and buying a new machine, right? Instead what cloud does is it, and what happens, yes guys, okay guys, I'm not sure whether there was a lag while you were going through this session. What happened is, let me tell you what happened. My connection, the streaming connection to my software which I'm using to stream this session did go down a minute back, and it shows now that it is connected. So I would like to know whether I'm audible to you people or not. If yes, then we can continue with this session guys. Okay, I'm guessing we are fine, so I'm just gonna go ahead and continue with the session. I was talking about instances, let me talk a little more about it. So when I talk about these servers that are ready to use, basically these servers are something that you can use and you can have some memory attached to it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and launch one instance and understand how memory or how storage works with it. So to do that, we're gonna go ahead and just launch that particular service. It is called as EC2, which is a compute service, guys. So here I can actually go ahead and create servers or launch instances in simple words. So let's just go ahead and launch a particular instance. Now I have the freedom of launching both Linux based, Windows based, Ubuntu based kind of instances. So you have the freedom of choosing what kind of instance do you want. This being a simple demo, guys, I'm gonna stick with the Windows instance. I'm not gonna show you how to deal with that instance because I've done that in previous sessions. You can take a look at some of those sessions as well, guys. Let's just go ahead and launch this particular session, or this particular instance rather. Now guys, this is a Windows instance, and okay, not this. Let me launch some basic one. This is also free tier, guys, but yeah, I would want this. Make sure that your instance is EBS backed. So guys, your backing up works in two ways. You can back it up on S3, you can back it up on EBS, that is elastic block storage. Now elastic block storage is important. Why? It lets you create images and volumes. What are those? We'll talk about that once we create this instance. So ensure that for now it is EBS. So if I click on, okay, this is the thing. If I click on this icon, it would give me details what kind of instance I'm launching. When I say T2 micro, it is a small instance which has one CPU and 1 gigabytes of memory for now. And I can just go ahead and say next. Okay, some of the other details, whether you want a VPC or not, let's not discuss that. And then you get into the storage part, guys. This is the device to which I'm attaching my root volume. So this is the path rather, so I need to focus on this. It is SDA1, guys, that is /dev/SDA1. You need to remember this when you create new volumes. And the types of volumes that you can attach to your instance are these. You have general purpose SSD, provisioned IOPS, and magnetic. Magnetic is something that is getting outdated, probably might be replaced. So these are the few ones. You also have some other kind of volumes that you can attach, but the point that you need to remember is when you talk about having a primary volume, in that case you have only these options because these are bootable, guys. So there are certain other volumes that you can attach. If I attach a secondary volume, you see the options are more. I have HHD for throughput optimization, and then I have cold HSD as well, but this is a basic thing. We're not gonna get into the details of that. We would skip that. So guys, all I'm trying to say is this is the device, this is the size, and probably this is the type of instance or volume, sorry, is that would be attached to my instance. So let's just go ahead and say next, add tags. For now, let's not add anything, and then let me say configure the settings. So guys, when I launch an instance, it says that security is not optimum, but it's okay. I mean, you can assign the ports you want to when you use it for a higher security purpose. And then this is important, guys. For your each instance, you need a key pair, which is a secret way of logging in, or a secure way of logging in, not secret, a secure way. So this is a second place authentication. Once you're logged into your account, you would be needing a key pair if you wish to use this instance. So make sure you create one and you store that one as well. If you have one which you can use, probably you can do that. Else you can just create one. Say new key. I said download. Guys, once you download it, keep it safe somewhere. It is stored in the form of .pem file. So do that. And then I say launch an instance. So guys, once this happens, if I just go back to the EC2 dashboard, probably I can see that there is an instance which is running. For now it is 0. Why? Because guys, my instance is still getting launched. It takes a couple of minutes or 1.5 or 1 minute probably to launch an instance. The reason for this is probably a lot of things happen in the background. I mean, certain network is associated. If you talk about an instance, it needs to communicate with other instances, right? So in that case, probably you need to have a network that lets all these instances connect. So a network is set here basically, and probably all the storage volume is attached, and a lot of things happen. That is why there are certain status checks that your instance needs to go through, and hence it takes a minute or so to launch this instance. So if you take a look at this, the status checks, it says that it is initializing. So if you refresh it, probably it happens at times. So let's just try our luck, see whether it's, no, it's still initializing, but guys, we can see the volume that would be attached to it. So let me just come here and rather go here. If I click on volumes, guys, there is a volume that is attached to it. So there is a 30 GB volume. So there is a volume that probably has a size of 30 GB. So it is here already and it is in use, so it would be attached to my instance once it is up and running. So the point I'm trying to make here is what elastic block storage does is it lets you manage all these things. Now there are two ways to manage these things. Either you create a copy of this volume, disable this volume, and then attach the next one, or probably you can directly scale your existing volume or make changes to it right away. So what elastic block storage does is it lets you manage the storages. So again, let me tell you how it works. So when I create an instance, probably it is created in a particular region, right? So in that particular region, say for example, now I'm based in India, so I have a data center in Mumbai. So my instance would be created at that data center, and probably the storage for it would also be there. So there is no latency when I try to use that storage. So this is what EBS does. It lets you manage that particular storage. So how it works is I can create a copy of it. So what this copy does is it serves two purposes. So next time, if I wish to make changes to that storage, I can do that. If this particular storage or volume goes down, I have a backup copy. Again, I can create snapshots as well. Now what snapshots do is basically they let me replicate my instance and the volume that is attached with it. So instead of creating an instance again and again with, if I've defined certain properties for my instance, I do not have to worry about defining those properties again and again. I can just create a snapshot, or I can rather create an EMI out of it, which I can store and use it next time if I want to spawn a similar instance. So this is where EBS helps in. It lets you have backups of all these storages. It lets you create copies of it, so even if something goes down, you can work on the copy that you have. So guys, by now our instance would be created. Let's just go ahead and take a look at it. It says it is running, guys, and we've already taken a look at the volume. Let's just create a copy of this volume. To do that, I'm going to go to the actions. My instance is selected already. I can just go to modify and make changes to this volume right away, which is an easier way, but I'm going to show you how it can be done the other way as well, how it used to work previously. So I can just say that create a snapshot, details, sample, and I say create. So guys, a snapshot is created. If I come here, I can take a look at the snapshot. Again, it is pending. Might take half a minute for the snapshot to get created. So I can just come here and replace or refresh rather. These things at times take a little while. So guys, we would be creating a copy of it. Probably we would be detaching the volume that we've created and it is attached to our instance, and we would replace that with the copy that we are creating now. So once this thing is done and created, we can do that. For some reason it's taking a longer while today. Let's hope that it gets done quicker. Okay, it's still processing. Let's bear with me, or just bear with me meanwhile this happens. Again guys, if I was too fast and if I missed out on certain things, I would like to tell you that you can go through our other sessions on YouTube and probably you'd be in a much better state to understand what has happened here. Again, there was an outage where, not outage, my software did not work properly, the streaming software, and probably there was a lag of a minute or two. So I'm hoping that you all did not miss out on anything that was happening. Meanwhile, just hope that this snapshot gets created quickly. It is still pending and this is irritating at times when it takes a longer while. It's completed guys, our snapshot is ready. I can just go ahead and say create a volume out of it which I wish to attach. So guys, there are certain details that we need to do. So for that, let's just go back first. Let's go back to the instance that we have, and let's see where the instance is created guys. So as you can see, if you come here, it would give you the details of the place where the instance is created. So it is US East 2C. So when you create a volume, it is necessary that you create it in the same region, guys, because as I've already mentioned, the benefits of having it in same region is that you can attach it to your existing instance and it saves you from various latencies. So yep, let's go back to the snapshots part and say create a volume of it. I say create, and then I probably, let's say I want more storage, guys. Let's say 90. Okay, this is general purpose. It is two-way, so let's go to 2C. If I'm not wrong, it was 2C. Let's just go ahead and create it in 2C and say create a volume. Close. So guys, our instances or our volume is created successfully. Again guys, now you can take a look at it from this perspective. I have my snapshot here, right? So this snapshot says 30 GB. That does not mean that the snapshot which I took, its size is 30 GB. It says that it was created from an instance whose size is 30 GB. So there's a difference between these two things, guys. Understand that as well. So I have a volume which is based in availability zone 2C. I have an instance which is here, and it again is an availability zone 2C. So we can attach to it. Let's just again go back to the volumes part. So guys, I have two volumes. I created this one and this is attached to my instance. Let me just try and remove this first. Detach volume. Okay, it's giving me an error. Try to understand why this error is there. Guys, my instance is already running, so I cannot directly remove this volume from here. For that, I would have to select this instance, go to instance state and say stop. So it stops working for now. And once it does, I can attach the volume. So for now, what you can see is there are these volumes here. It is in use, right? So once the instance stops, it would be available and won't be in use. So I can replace it with this instance. So it is stopping. It hasn't stopped yet. So guys, do not worry, we would be done with the session very soon, and once we are done, probably you all would be free to leave. I believe that this session has taken longer than my normal sessions, but yeah, there was a lot of stuff to talk about. We talked about the complete storage services that AWS has to offer to you people, hence this session was so long. So let's just quickly go ahead and finish the stuff. Okay, it has stopped. So guys, I can now go ahead and remove the volume or detach this volume and go ahead and attach the other one. So if I say detach, it would detach. Yeah, see, both are available now. Let's try to attach this volume and say attach volume. Search. This is the instance, guys, which we've created, and you need to give in the device details, which was slash what were the details. Let's just go back and take a look at the details that we're supposed to enter in here. So guys, you need to give in the path that we talked about, which is the drive that we've discussed, right? So that is the path that you need to enter, and then you actually go ahead and say sda1 slash, and probably you'd be more than good to go. So this is the other thing, I do not remember the other part. So you need to go ahead and put in these details here. If you put in these part details, guys, you can just go ahead and attach your volume right away, and this volume would get attached to your instance. So this is how it works, and you can actually go back and do other things as well. So if I just come here, I have this instance. So what you have to do is you have to actually go ahead and click on this thing. For now it's not working, but if you just come back here or to the volume part, So if you just go to the volumes part, which we were at in the previous slide, you can actually go ahead and attach the volumes. Now here you go. If I just go to instances, probably go back and I say EC2 again. Yeah, if I come back to volumes, guys, you can attach the volumes that are there, you can delete those, and you can do a number of changes that you wish to do. So just go ahead and attach these volumes and you'd be more than good to actually go ahead and launch your instances or manage the storages that are there. Again, the only thing that I missed out on is the path. I told you to note the path, the device name, right? You just have to go ahead and enter in the device name here, and if you enter in the device name while creating your volume or attaching your volume, your instance would get attached to that, or your volume would get attached to that instance right away. So yes guys, this pretty much sums up today's session. We've talked about quite a few things here, guys. We've talked about S3 services, we've talked about EBS in particular. We've understood like how to detach a volume, how to attach one. I just did not show you how to attach the volume, but you can do that. The reason I'm not showing you that is I probably lost out on the device name here, which normally comes in here. So before you deactivate your device, make sure that you have this name, and when you do launch or attach your volume to that particular thing, all you have to do is you just go to the volumes part, and probably when you say attach to a particular instance, put in that device name there, and your instance would be attached, or your volume would be attached to your instance, and you can just go ahead and say launch or just start this so-called instance again, and you'd be good to go, guys. So as far as this particular session goes, guys, these are the pointers I wanted to talk about. I hope that I've talked about most of these pointers and I've cleared all your myths or doubts that were